Welcome back to the third and final episode with the legend that is Mick Grant. We're still at Roger Burnett's place at Laceby Manor. It's a beautiful, Wednesday afternoon, the sun's shining, it's autumn. It's been a fantastic chat. I hope you enjoyed the last two episodes. This is the final one. We're going to move into team management, Oliver's Mount, as we said, maybe a little bit about Macau, because there's a story that I've heard about toads.
Yes.
But we'll come on to that one. Mick, welcome back. Thank you for this. It's been thoroughly enjoyable going through your career, going through your insights into motorcycle racing. It's opened my eyes in a lot of ways. So again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Tell me about your step into team management. You explained about Roger Marshall earlier on and the original £1 million that didn't happen, but then yes, you went on to successfully manage Phil Mellor and Witt and the Durex Suzuki.
Yeah, I took the Suzuki team over, and as we said before, from having £1 million and being able to run racing bikes, and it was at a time when the industry were losing bike sales. So the industry couldn't really afford, only Honda could afford to put Grand Prix bikes out on British road circuits. All the other manufacturers had to run production bikes, or production-based bikes,
yes,
with no alternative. And I remember I sat down at Crawley, down at Suzuki's office, and I've got to find sponsorship. Well, I'm as good as a salesman as
me.
That cup of bloody coffee is. And so I'm looking through the directory, and I saw the London Rubber Company. So I rang them up. Hello, this is Ewan Ventus from Durex, the promotion manager. I said, I'm running a racing team. Could I come down and have a chat with you? Yes, of course you can. So I went down there, and we did a deal with Durex, which was absolutely amazing. We didn't get half the money that people imagined we got. But what we did do, the merchandising. We sold, I think, the first year we sold about £250,000 of the merchandising. And of course, we were getting a percentage of that for the racing team.
Yeah.
There were people buying the little 3 and 4-year-old kids Durex shirts and things, and Durex umbrellas, and wear the Durex team shirts. And you could have asked if you'd have sold team jackets. And if you'd have wanted to sell them, you could have got whatever money you wanted from them. But it was just something that caught the public's eye. And that went on for 18 months. And then, unfortunately, because Dunlop were promoting safe sex, when poor old Phil Mellor got killed at the TT,
yes, that was
them finished with it, which was really sad. So I never really enjoyed team manager, if I'm being honest. It's not the same as being a rider. If you're a team manager, if it goes wrong, it's your fault. If you have a stroke, look, it goes right, someone else will claim it. So you're always in a no-win situation. And if there's any shit at all, you got it all. While you were a rider, you're part of a team, but you're very much an individual. It's not like playing football or whatever. You're in for yourself. Suddenly running a team, and although we didn't have the team numbers that they have now, we still got, like 2 or 3 riders and a couple of 3 mechanics to look after. And it wasn't the most enjoyable experience I've ever had.
How much did the incident with Mez affect you as a team manager? Because that must be one of it has to be the most dreadful of situations to be in.
Oh, horrible.
Within motorcycle racing.
Horrible. Yeah, I just, you sort of in the pits. And I remember just going back in 1975, when I broke Aylward's lap record. Peter Neal and the commentator saying Mick just broke Aylward's lap record. And I set off on another lap. And my wife's in the pits. They didn't have the radio control contact that we have now.
No.
They didn't have the mobile phones that we have now. And Ian Cannell is at the bungalow commentating. And of course you can see right round the veranda, maybe 2 miles further on. And he's saying, oh, Mick Grant should be coming down the veranda now. And his voice dropped. It's not Mick. It was the second place guy on the road. So my missus in the pits, I'd just gone right quicker than anyone else ever, which is not special, because the lap record should have gone years before. And I'm suddenly not there. And she must have been 20 minutes, half an hour before she found out that I just got a broken chain. And that was perfectly all right. So from that point, I mean, the Isle of Man now is much, much better for that. But then coming back onto Phil, you suddenly realise he's not reached Ramsey. And then you see the helicopter go. And it slowly dawns on you that it's your rider that's gone down. And then Whittam didn't come round. Just what's happening here? And what had actually happened, analysing it afterwards, put up Phil, he fell off at, was it Doran's? It just went, it was in the leading bunch and he did something wrong and made a mistake and it walloped a post or something. James had seen it and I think James couldn't concentrate. I've never really gone through this with James, but my take on it is that James knew that Phil was going to be hurt pretty badly. He'd seen it. And going into Quarry Bends, James had made a mistake and fell off. And then Henshaw and Seward ran into James's debris. So James luckily was all right. Henshaw got killed and Seward was badly hurt. Just a horrible, horrible situation. As I said before when I first started, team management isn't a job I would ever want to do again. There were good bits of it. I mean, for example, my favourite story of Whittam. The bloke he's a one-man act on his own. I'd done a deal with a company called Filchia, and we got James and Mez, and a couple of riders, I can't remember the names, on the 250, the RGV 250s. And I didn't have any money, but they were all in the same leathers.
Remember the field share ones, yeah.
Yeah, and they would all be kept in leathers for the full season.
Little like licorice torpedo looking things.
That's right, yeah. So anyway, that was great for me. So, but James, right from the word go, I don't like them leathers, they're not comfortable, they don't look safe. I think if they crashed them, they wouldn't be right safe. And I think he maybe on the side he'd got a deal with somebody else he could maybe got a bob or two from. Anyway, we went to the first superbike practice at Mallory Park. And I'm stood there in the pit lane with my stopwatches, and James did about 3 laps. And he came back in, and he stopped again me. He said, I've told you. He says, these leathers are that uncomfortable. They're dangerous. I'm never going to wear them again. And James had got a right long neck, hadn't he? I looked behind him, and there's a coat hanger hook stuck out of the back. He got a fucking wooden coat hanger in the back of his leathers.
I reminded that when I see him at Brands.
And he never ever complained about the leathers all year again.
Strange that. It's amazing how comfortable it can be when you take the hanger out.
But after Mez, there was basically, for a long while, there was just James, me, my missus, and Butch Cartwright, Robert Cartwright. And that was very pleasant because there was no quarter given non-techn. It was piss-taking 99% of the time. And I enjoyed that. That was good fun. And I really enjoyed working with people who put 100% in. Yeah. And your Phil Mellors, your Whittams, your Steve Platers, they all did that. And you could, people that put 100% in are going to give you a lot more damage, crash damage and whatever. Yeah. But it's actually not, as long as they're trying, it doesn't matter.
It's the important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. So there were good bits of it. And of course with Whittam's wit and Butch Cartwright, it's wit as well. I mean, I remember we came into the Superbike paddock at Donington, and at that time we had a Ford Cargo, big truck. And we came in the morning, and Butch is slumped over the steering wheel, obviously had a real heavy night. And me and James walking in the paddock. And James said, bloody look at Butch, he said. If you poured a can of curry over his head now, when he wakens up, he'll think he's had a right good night out. And it would just bounce all the time, Absolutely brilliant. And we called James, in the early stages, we called him Letfoot Larry. Because instead of having the bike ticking over and pulling the clutch and just click it into gear, he'd rev it. And at the top of the revs, he'd clunk. So we'd Letfoot Larry. And then another name I had for him was Dickhead. I used to call him DH. Why do you call me DH? He said, because you're a fucking dickhead.
He speaks very fondly of you, being a massive part of his career,
Yeah.
and so does Buster as well, Steve Plater.
Yeah.
You've been a formative part in both their careers.
Thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. But if you couldn't take the piss, or if you couldn't take it, you weren't allowed in there.
That's fair.
You'd have had a miserable time. I tell you.
Some can give it, but they can't take it.
No.
And there's a big difference there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how much pride does it give you when you look back and you see what Witt achieved at going up to World Supersport level, a World Superbike race winner, and Steve Plater going on to being senior TT winner?
Absolutely. And the nice thing is, when you see riders that come to you and say, look, I've got a chance of going one better, you don't try to hold them back. You're just quite happy that you've done your bit for them and you can actually help them on the way. I mean, James had a lovely career in the 600s with Belgard.
Belgard Yamaha,
Yeah. I remember watching him at Donington, backing it in, when only backing it in only just started. And I just thought, yeah, I'm part of that.
It's exactly it. And I asked him for a couple of stories.
Oh dear.
Fortunately, he's been really busy because, Witt, he doesn't stand still, does he?
No.
He doesn't let the grass grow under his feet.
No.
And he was like, Dave, he said, I've got hundreds of stories about Grante. I just haven't got the time to tell you them all. Because he was busy with Eurosport all the weekend, and he's been over to Anglesey with his track day company, and he's just...
Yeah,
the man never stands still.
That's right.
But
that's
for
right.
Buster and James, all the respect in the world for both of them.
Yeah.
Great fellas.
Yeah.
Tell me about your time at Oliver's Mount, both racing there and then getting involved with Resurrecting it.
Yeah, well, as we said in the first one, it was the very first race I'd seen. And then I could see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's what I wanted to do. So I always did things, as I said before, in small steps. But my ambition was to just do a race at Scarborough, even a club level type national thing, which I did. And then I just kept going and going. And I just loved the place. And then obviously at that time, when we were on the Kawasaki's and we had the Sheen Grant rivalry, that was a magic time. There were massive crowds and it was fantastic. But one particular time, Peter Hillaby used to run it. He was absolutely brilliant. I had a lot of time for Peter. The last 2 or 3 years he ran it, he wasn't well. And he didn't manage the financial side of it and he went down.
Yes.
I rather suspect that maybe the people got around in the till, but I can't prove that. And Peter he lost it completely. But in the good old days, in the 70s, in the mid-70s, I remember Barry and I would sometimes, Barry would come over and say, we're going to do a bit of a deal. See what we're doing. And they'll say, well, we'll muck about for 3 laps. Muck about, and the 10-lapper. The last 3 laps we'll race. Yeah, we'll go for that. We never, ever chuked a race, but we made it a bit safer. And I remember this particular time, we were going round maybe 2 or 3 seconds lap slower than we could have done and kept passing and whatever, and the crowd loving it. And Jeff Barry on the Norton, who was sort of diced him with it, he didn't know we were playing a bit of a game. And then Jeff kept nearly getting the front wheels, so we down the back straight, and Barry looked back at me and he said, yeah, let's go. So we suddenly, but old Jeff didn't know what happened. We suddenly went about 2.5, 3 seconds a lot quicker. Just good fun. And then Peter used to have a ballroom, the Spa ballroom for Scarborough on the Saturday night.
Yeah.
And there'd be Miss Wet T-shirts, there'd be this, that and the other. And we're in there, Sheeny and I went in together, and we're signing autographs. And there's a big crowd around us. And my missus it's about 6 deep, and she's right at the back. And these girls are wanting an arm signing and whatever. Then without any warning, one flops a jumper up, tits go out. Can you sign me tits? Do you have to think about that? So Barry would hold one boob, and I would very carefully and slowly, so as not to make a mistake with my spelling.
You got to spell it right.
Sign it. And then I would hold the other one while Barry signed the other one. And then, looking out, another pair of tits had come up. And we're at this for ages. I couldn't believe it. My missus, I keep saying, right, what are you doing? I said, we're just signing autographs. Just magic.
I'll see you in a couple of hours.
Just magic.
I'll be back when I'm ready.
It wouldn't be acceptable now.
It wouldn't. It was of its time, wasn't it?
It was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. I mean, I'm so embarrassed.
I mean, I can see how embarrassed you are and how disappointed
terrible.
in your own actions you are.
Yeah.
As you should be.
I hate political correctness. I really do.
Oh, you and me both, Mick. It's of its time, and it was brilliant, and everybody enjoyed it, and it was harmless.
Yeah.
And nobody forced them to. They were doing it of their own of their own free will, because that was of its time.
That was at its time, yeah. It's pity it still isn't at its time, but there you go. But then going on from there, I got a phone call that Scarborough it had gone. Peter wasn't well, he was in hospital and whatever. And I never saw it as a business opportunity. But I had such an affinity with the place, I didn't want to see it disappear. So Eddie Roberts, I knew Eddie quite well because we'd raced together. But I wouldn't, at that stage, he wasn't a friend, he was just somebody I knew.
Yes.
But I knew Eddie had been successful at getting Mallory Park out of the mire and getting it quite successful. So I rang Eddie and said, look, will you be interested in helping out and get Scarborough going? He said, yeah, I'll have got that. Because at the time he was doing the Pirelli.
Yes,
type
the
thing,
Pirelli as well. Yeah, that's right.
And Eddie was absolutely fantastic. Just a right good guy he could just organise things, insurance and all this sort of thing. So we went there and we had a third guy. I wanted to stop a minute and think who this guy was called.
Andy Kershaw.
Andy Kershaw. Andy came in, really excited. This is a true story, unfortunately. Andy came in and there were three of us. So we kept meeting the council and we had 2 or 3 meetings with them. And the first meeting we went in with, I said to the people there, I said, look, we are not looking at this as a business. We just don't want to see it disappear. The council wanted to keep Oliver's Mount going because of the income from the revenue. I said, but I'll say now, here and now, if you can find somebody better than us, we'd be delighted. We don't want to do it, but we will do it. And unfortunately, I think that sealed the job. I think that's probably why we got the job. And so the next meeting we had, Andy's there, and me and Eddie are talking about financing, because we obviously leased the premises from the council.
Yes.
And we got to negotiate and whatever. And Andy's saying things he shouldn't have been saying, making our life difficult. So for the next meeting, we said to Andy, you can't come to the next meeting. You're still part of it, but you can't come because we just need to. And he took offence to it, and then it all went wrong. So me and Eddie go to the next meeting, and Andy shows up again. So we had a bit of a bust-up. And in actual fact, it ended quite nasty, really. But Andy he was just not the person to be in there. He was just, I couldn't understand why. What we did, we actually dissolved Oliver Mount Racing as a company to get Andy out of it.
Yes.
So then we started another company with just me and Eddie in it. And I didn't tell Andy for quite a while until I got everything in line. And then I rang him up and he called me two-faced and whatever. Now I wasn't. I just got to do it in a way that we got the thing secure. So then my next phone call is to Stuart of the Scarborough Council we dealt with. So a bit embarrassing, Stuart, but there were 3 of us. There's only 2 now. And he said, what's happened? I said, well, unfortunately, Andy's had to go. And he started laughing. I said, what are you laughing at? He said, I can't tell you. Anyway, left it. So a few weeks later, when we'd signed the deal and whatever, we're up at Oliver's Mount at the top of the monument, taking photos for the press and whatever. And by this time, we got to know Stuart a lot better. And I said, come on, you're laughing at me. And I said, Andy, what are you laughing at? He said, well, he'd been on to the council that if we gave him 100 grand, he would run the thing on his own and whatever. Oh, what a dickhead. So we're actually vindicated in what we did.
Yeah.
And then we took it on. We had COVID, we had some shit weather, and a lot of stress. But we did 3 or 4 meetings. They all made not a lot of money, but they actually made money. We put 100 grand worth of Rector around the place.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly now probably one of the safest circuits, road race circuits. And then we had a guy called Andy Hayes, wanted to join, and he wanted to run it, which, what can be better than that for us? So we made Andy a director, and we said, well, once you've been with us a while, you can take it on, because we want it out as quick as we can. So we had a situation for a while. Andy had been in IT.
Yes, I know Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'd done nothing, me and Eddie did nothing but race motorbikes and been involved in every aspect of it, really. And on 2 or 3 occasions, Andy had said to us, me and Eddie, you're both against me. When we'll have 3 of us there to make a decision what we're going to do with prize money or with entry fees, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And he's saying, you're always against me. I said, Andy, it's because we know what to do. You're into it fresh, and you're on a steep learning curve. Anyway, so we went along like that. And then eventually we let Andy have it, and he's got it now. And I think he's making a good job of it. And I hope he is, because we spent 2 years too stressful. I mean, can you imagine? If we could have had, if we'd have been sort of 20, 30 years younger, the pair of us, me and Eddie, because we're both old farts, and we'd have done it as a business, the first thing we would have done, we'd have got enough money in the safety pot that if you have a rained-off meeting, it ain't a big deal. No. But we only ran 4 meetings. We never actually achieved that situation. So I'm looking at the weather forecast this weekend. It's rain. Oh, no. Rain. Oh, and it's just so stressful. And I'm missing riding my trials bikes. But we did it for 2 years, and Andy took it on. And he's finding it tough, but he's enjoying it. And I think it's the light at the end of his tunnel that you can see. So I'm really pleased, and I'm really chuffed that we've actually saved it. It's important because it is an intrinsic part of British motorcycle history. It's the only road racing circuit in the country. Exactly. Yeah. And it's imperative that we keep it. Yes, it is probably, and I don't think there's much of an argument that it is maybe a little bit too tight for modern day superbikes, but for 600s, for R6s, go on. Well, I suppose the throttle goes one way as well as the other. Nothing to do with that. Go on. Right. The 600s are going round within a second or so of the superbikes. They're a lot slower down the straight. So logically, a 600 is going round the corners quicker than a superbike. Where do you fall off? On the corners. On the corners. I rest my case. Fair point. This is why you do what you do, and I just sit here asking questions. Okay. I'm not saying I'd want to ride a superbike around there. No, but I wouldn't. Do you think there's a case for to run superbikes out there? Or is it because of... I think there's every case to run it, but the people I'm speaking out of turn now, but I think people that would allow that are looking after their own house, because if it goes wrong, they're going to say, why are you being so stupid like superbikes? I understand. Which is not, that's never going to change. You're always going to get people in authority looking after, risk assessments, covering their own house. Health and safety. In logic, there's no reason why. I mean, I would love to see super stock there. Yes. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. And that once you did that, there'd be a lot more teams interested, rather than just bringing A600. Yes. Which would be a whole new ballgame. It'd be great to have more names back there. Yeah. Andy's done a great job this year. They've run the Spring Cup, they've run the Gold Cup. He's done the Barry Sheen. I think there's been a hill climb there. Yeah. So in terms of events at Oliver's Mount, it's had a successful year in those terms. Yeah. But to see the bigger bikes come back, because Dean came back for the Gold Cup, didn't he? Yeah. And unfortunately, Lee's injured, so Lee would normally be his biggest nemesis around there. Yeah. But to see Michael Dunlop come back and to bring in some of the Irish guys as well. Yeah, yeah. More of the Irish lads, because quite a few have been across. Adam McLean's been across, and Paul Jordan's been across. Yeah. But to get a few more across and bring more crowds in. Yeah. Because it's still England's only road racing circuit. Yeah. I mean, if that was allowed, and I don't think it will be, then at the briefing, you give them a really serious talking to. It's more of a show than a race. And the crowd would love that. Oh, for the big bikes, it would be incredible to watch. Yeah. Are you
If you had the chance again, I don't know the answer to this question, but with the stress and the difficulties that it caused, given the chance again, would you still do the same thing in terms of
I would,
getting involved?
because I don't want to see it disappear. In my looking back at it, I lost 2 years out of my life.
Yeah.
But Scarborough's running.
But that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And it's great. And that legacy will continue. I say Andy and Wendy are doing a great job up there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'd be long for it to continue.
Yeah, yeah.
So within those 2 years, you missed it. Go on.
I was going to say we had one problem. We had a guy called Sean in there who we put in his team as circuit manager. And he was a complete dickhead. And he was actually so counterproductive all the way through it. It made our life very, very difficult. But it's gone now, so that's amazing.
So the future is brighter still.
Well, all the problems that we had have now been sorted. And one of the things that I couldn't understand is that in the 70s, 60s and 70s, a car would go into the car park. And because of the economy, there'd be 3 or 4 people in it.
Yeah.
Now, a car goes in the car park, no more than 2 in it, and probably 2 in a caravan. So when you get a field now that looks to be jam-packed, there's probably a quarter of the people there that there were in the 70s with the same number of cars in there.
It shows on the banking, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember the first meeting we had a good crowd, maybe about 12,000 people. And I was on the top car. I got a phone call. We didn't know how to organise anything. We hadn't got lanes for parking or whatever. And so I had to go up and help. And I've never been stressed in my life. There was cars parked. By the time we got there, there's cars parked here, there and everywhere. There's no room to park people. And I'm trying to, it was horrible. And Peter Duke, who was doing the ticketing, there were people coming through and we couldn't park them quick enough. I've never been as stressed in my life. And folk were saying, look, there's Mick Grant there. It's car park attendant. Oh, dear. It's funny looking back on it, but I wouldn't want it again.
No, you can't imagine that again.
After the first meeting, hang on, we just need to sort this out.
Yeah.
And then you put lanes in it. You know we're going to park them all and suddenly get a lot more people in them.
You don't know what you don't know.
That's right, yeah. Oh.
But then the next time...
What a learning curve.
Steepest learning curve you've ever had?
Just about, yeah.
In the time that you were at Oliver's Mount, you said you lost kind of 2 years of your life putting that together with Eddie and saving that, and you missed out on your trials riding.
Yes.
And something that is really close to your heart now. I know Rob Mack does a lot of trials riding.
Yeah.
Whit's done a bit in his time and is quite adept at it.
Yeah.
But you kind of take it to the next level. You're off in Scotland doing Kinloch Leven.
Yeah, I'm away to France the south of France next Monday for a 2-day trial, and then the following week I'm doing a 2-day trial down in the north of Spain. I just love it. But the old adage that practice makes perfect doesn't apply in my case, because I've always been shit at it. I'm still shit at it.
But you're having a good time.
But I just love it. Yeah.
How did you get into it?
When I was at college, I had a Velocet road bike. And I remember there's a place called Post Hill at Leeds. It's a massive 1.5 hill. Oof. And it's motocross. And I bought a pal's motocross bike and I had to go at that. And I just loved it. I've always been into it. And then I had a little Grief Strauss bike. But then through my professional career, you hadn't time to ride motocross trials bikes. So the last meeting would be sort of October. So I'd get into my trials bike mode, be complete shit. And by March comes round, you're starting to get a bit better at it in practice. And then you leave it alone again till next October. But even if I'd have done it full time, I never had just that ability. So I would have never been better than an average clubman. And unfortunately, now as age goes on, I'm actually going down the slippery slope. I'm shite.
Hang on, you were 50th out of, as a little bird tells me on social media, you were 50th out of 260 at Kinloch Leven.
Yeah, I just feel sorry for the other poor buggers.
But the great thing is how active you are and how much you continue to enjoy being on two wheels.
Yeah.
And being part of the trials. And do you make it to British Superbike meetings, things like that?
No,
or you just not?
Absolutely no interest.
That's fair.
Because I'm not I've never been a spectator. If I'm there with a clipboard under my arm or something to do,
With
that's
a purpose.
fine. But I went to one about 6 years ago at Cabell, the BSB. I had lunch with Honda, watched one race and thought, what am I doing here? I went home. I quite like watching it on telly, and I love MotoGP. But MotoGP now is paling in significance against Superbike, I think.
I agree.
Superbike guys, they're racing.
Yeah, 100%.
And the other thing, if I can get this off my chest.
Here we go.
What really pisses me off is that people like Michael Laverty and all the people around there who I have a great amount of respect for, they do a brilliant job. Currently, they're sort of all saying that, we hope Marquez goes on to a Ducati because, won't it be exciting? They can't see the wood for trees. Because if, going back, Kawasaki came in and went out, Suzuki came in and went out. If Marquez goes to Ducati, which looks almost certain, there'd be no reason why Honda couldn't leave.
No.
So suddenly, you can't have a Motor World Championship with just 2 or 3 Italian firms. Wouldn't work.
Well, you've got two Italian firms and Yamaha, that's it.
Yeah, well, I could, but I think if Honda came out, why would Yamaha stay?
One of the reasons Yamaha go racing is to beat Honda, isn't it?
Yeah.
So would they stay as the only Japanese manufacturer? What is it to fight for?
You would think that the commentator should be saying, I hope for the sake of the series that he stays where he is. I can't believe that the organisers, Espalata or whatever they call him, he must have been putting a lot of pressure on Mark to stay where he is. For the championship to survive, Honda have got to stay in there, and Yamaha have got to stay in there. If those two go, the job's gone. When
you look at it, I mean, we in the break that we just had, it's being reported that it's a done deal on Autosport that he's signed for 2024 on the Gresini Ducati.
Yeah.
That will be a 23 version, but maybe a 24 if it's Marc Marquez.
Yeah.
I don't understand where that leaves everything else, because who's going to ride for Honda now? Because pretty much everybody's signed up. Well,
not only that, but Marquez just recently said, I still think I'm the quickest guy out there. The punters are saying that Honda need to gain half a second a lap. Well, if Marquez is half a second a lap, it means the bike's a second off for the normal rider on it.
Correct.
So suddenly without him there, they haven't a mountain to climb.
No.
They've a massive.
And knowing the way Honda work, and as more acutely as you know how Honda work, they're not going to rip up the book and go start again.
No.
Everything changed. Small Honda, Kaizen, small steps.
Yeah.
That's the only way they do things. They don't make massive changes.
Yeah. And I think, I'm only looking as a commentator from the outside, but both Yamaha and Honda now, the mistake they made over the last few years is they're working in-house in Japan without a relationship of development that's happening in Europe.
Absolutely, they're out on a limb, aren't they?
And for that reason, if I was brought into Honda now, I would say no, but if I was, I would say, right, we need to go and get the best engineers from Europe. And within 12 months, you'd have a race-winning bike. It's as easy as that. But they're doing it all in-house. And it's like in Formula One. All the main Formula One teams are quite close together. And all the ideas actually get passed between them. And that's why they're all coming up pretty well together. The Japanese are out of it. Well,
the Japanese, they also, if I remember right, and you maybe know this different to me, or you'll agree, when they went to the Magneti Marelli spec electronics, Ducati and Aprilia went straight to Magneti and basically bought their top engineers.
Yeah.
So they are employing Magneti Marelli data engineers, whereas Honda and Yamaha have to learn.
Yeah. I mean,
they're behind the 8 ball straight away.
Yeah, I mean, if you had unlimited budget, and aerodynamics are obviously so important as the
incredible
cat
now.
You'd have to go to someone like Adrian Newey from Formula One Red Bull and say, please come and give us 3 months of your work.
Yeah.
And suddenly the aerodynamics would work.
They would. But would still...
instead of now watching the telly, and I'm only a TV punter, they're putting these bits on here, there and everywhere. It don't look to be doing anything to me. They need someone who actually understands.
Or get rid of them completely.
Yeah.
Because we watched Misano, and the Misano feature race, leader, 0.7, 1 second, 0.7, 1 second, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
The most boring races when it's like that.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening.
But you know when they went from 1,000 down to 800?
Yeah.
That was at a time when the motorcycle sales market plummeted.
Yes.
The Japanese, well, none of the manufacturers were actually making any money. So the FIM in the wisdom, so they said, right, all the manufacturers, right, you've got to make a completely new motorbike. It's 850 or whatever, 800.
800, yeah.
800. So each manufacturer has got to spend millions of pounds. And they're not right smart, because all they've got to say to the manufacturers, right, you can still run the thousands, but instead of running, say, a 22-litre fat tank, you're down to 18.
Yeah.
That immediately brings the horsepower down.
Make it work.
And it's only an electronic exercise to make the bike slower. And yet they went to all this expense of millions and millions of pounds. I just don't understand.
And then what did they do?
Yeah.
Went back to 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's some decisions that beg a belief.
Very much so. Let's finish off with Macau. Let's finish with Macau, because Macau fascinates me, and the stories that Roger and Reg told, they saw it as a bit more of a holiday race.
It is.
But they were quite adamant that you didn't. You went there to win.
Yes.
And Ron Haslam went there to win, and
yes.
that some riders went to win,
yes.
Some riders went and enjoyed themselves.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experiences in
Macau. I was
Macau.
lucky because I went there to win and I enjoyed myself.
You had a double whammy.
Yeah. It was a road circuit. It's very much like, if you've never been, it's like the Monaco Grand Prix. You have a course road bit.
Yeah.
Then you have a twist a bit around the town, and then you're back again. And it's just a nice circuit. Bit of oil where the traffic's been, and some Armco barriers quite close. And you've got to ride at a pace that you're not going to fall off at. I remember the first time I went there on the Kawasaki, they'd only had 350s there before, so a 750, it's not a big deal, but I broke the lap record. I'm shit at learning circuits, and I broke the lap record on the second lap.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, which just, that wasn't me, that was just, they hadn't been going.
It'd been on a 750.
They hadn't been going quick before. But...
Mind you said that about the TT, that the lap record should have gone before, and you broke the lap record at the Northwest, so you don't do bad over the years.
No, but that was at a time when 750s were just, people had been on 500s.
Yeah, so there was a difference in CCs. Yeah.
Suddenly we were going quicker.
Still got to pedal them around though.
Oh yeah.
I'll big you up for that. You still got to pedal them around.
I mean, just going back to the TT, when I did the lap record in 75, this was my second flying lap I went round, and Mike Aylward had been, he made his comeback a couple of years later, and I can't profess to be a friend of his, but I knew him quite well because he'd come back and he'd shown a bit of interest.
Yeah.
And Mike is stood in the press box with Ted McCauley, who was the Daily Mail.
Yes.
The Daily Mirror reporter. And Ted was the guy that got Mike back in 78. And they both stood there, and I came out at the end of the second lap, and Peter Neal, the commentator, said, Mick Grant just beaten Mike Aylward's 8-year-old lap record. I'm totally oblivious to this. And over the years, you read press reports, and you get accolades thrown against you. And in the real world, most of it's bullshit. So you don't go for it. But the one accolade I take with me to my grave was that, as Peter Neal said, Mick Grant just broke Mike Aylward's lap record. Mike turned to who I thought was God, turned to Tim McCauley and said, "The bastard." And it don't get any better than that, does it?
High praise, that.
Absolutely high praise indeed, yeah.
Phenomenal. And what a rider and what a gentleman that he was.
When he came back in 78, he was on the Marlborough 750 Yamaha.
Yeah.
And by this time, we actually knew one another reasonably well. And halfway through practice week, myself and Pat Hennon were lapping at 113. And Mike was about 109. He was way off the pace. And he came to me on the Thursday morning and he said, "Mick, can I ask a favour?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Can I have a lap round with you?" Well, I shit myself. I mean, the guy when I was at college with was the multi-world champion.
Yeah.
Wanted me to show him round a lap.
No. Incredible.
Horrible. And I couldn't say no. So I said, okay. So we set off together in practice. And I got him to go in front so I could watch him. And we went all the way to Ramsey. And all the way to Ramsey, there's only one place he was actually offline. And Greba Castle. Since he rode there, they'd had the road up. And there were a couple of bumps.
Okay.
And we actually rode around it now, and he went over the bumps. And at that time, I was quite good from start to Ramsey. I was complete shit, I don't know why, from the bottom of the mountain to the bungalow. And I was exceptionally quick from the bungalow to the start. And you put those three together, and I did all right. So I'm following Halewood, and we got to Ramsey towards the hairpin, and I couldn't believe it. He pulled over and waved me past for me to show him over my worst bit. And I just panicked. If he'd have come out of the hairpin, if the policeman had said, "What's your name?" I couldn't have told him. My head was going spinning. I missed every apex all the way up to the bungalow. And we came back to the start. And he said, "Well, what do you reckon?" I said, "The only thing you're doing wrong," I said, in your day, you got the drum brakes. I said, "You're braking miles too early everywhere." I said, "These disc brakes, you can go about 30 hours more than you've been going." I says, "Thanks for that." He says, "By the way," he says, his exact words were, he says, "How the fuck you get around the speed you do, I don't know, because you were shite over the mountain." I couldn't tell him.
You couldn't be hard to tell him.
I couldn't tell him. Anyway, the next practice is up with us. That's the measure of the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't take much to get him back up to speed, did it?
No. Me and my big mouth.
Tell me about the story of the Toads.
Right.
Macau.
Well, when we went to Macau the second time, I met a couple of Portuguese, because it obviously Portuguese colony.
Absolutely.
One guy said he was second in command of the police, and the other guy got a restaurant, Adriano and whatever his name is. And so we get the Suzuki out of the box, start it in the main street. There's a lot of people around, and the copper comes up. And the shop owner had said to me where we got the Suzuki, he said that young fellow there says is second in command of the police. And he almost like a kid. I thought, "I'm talking shite." Anyway, we started the bike up in the street and then we stop in all the cars. And this copper comes up with his gun in his holster. He said, "No more." And this young fellow went up to me. And he was the second in command of the police. And we used to go into they used to have a hut just on the Chinese border. And we'd go up there and drink on a night. And that was nice. Well, what were we talking about?
We're going to the food now, with the chickens and
so
the toads.
They used to take us down.
Proper street food.
Yeah. You could have a meal in the hotel we're in, which was all right, but very, very expensive. They used to take us downtown. And they got lino on the tablecloths. And they'd have buckets, and they'd have frogs in, they'd have lobsters in, they'd have crabs, they'd have fish. Whatever it was, I could have that and that and that and that. And you'd have a complete 5-course meal for about £4 or something stupid. But food was absolutely superb. And they got these big black frogs in this bucket. And Parrish got one of these frogs, or maybe 2 of them. And I'm driving, we've got one of these mini coaches, 8 or 9 seater things. And we're going back, and Parrish is sat next to me, and I'm driving it. And the frog jumped out of his hand. It's on the floor, it's dark, it's night. And I daren't touch the brake in case I trod on this fucking frog. Anyway, I managed to get the van back. And we got back there. And this Chris Carter, the journalist, lovely fella, but it's the physique of an egg on legs. Apparently didn't like frogs. And so Parrish went up and put a frog in his bath. And I just got this feeling. And then when Carter wasn't about, Carter went up to have a shower. And he knew that the only person who could have done it would have been Parrish. So he got on the phone, Parrish, get this fucking frog out of my bath. Can you imagine this big fat fella and this poor little black frog looking at this big fat belly? You don't know who would be the most frightened, would you? Anyway, Parrish went up and he got the frog out of the bath. And as he's leaving, he said, oh, by the way, Chris, complete lie. He said, there's another one in your bed. I just left him with it.
All the times you must have had with Parrish. That's a whole podcast on its own. And
then I'd been out for a meal and we came back one night into the hotel and there's police everywhere. And there's Parrish there and they're interviewing him. And apparently they made this plan to blow, because there's lots of brothels in Macau, to blow this. They used to have, you could go to the market and get these bombs, these fireworks, looked like a bomb. You could get little ones or fucking great things that made a right bang. And he decided that he was going to blow the brothel up. So
was he trying to flush people out? Or was he actually blowing it up? Because
I don't know.
Reg tells it slightly differently, that he was looking to flush riders out of the brothel. Basically do that and see who comes running out.
It could have been. But at the time, Paul Butler, who was top Yamaha man, he was drawn into it. He got to go and Stavros was going to drive the getaway car. The safest place ever, eh?
He was never daft, was he?
Stavros will look after himself. Right? And Paul Butler, with the light the bomb, with this little fuse on it, and Paul Butler will go and put it in the fire, jump back in the van and they'll make their escape. Anyway, this fucking bomb went off and they got the number of the van. And I remember Klaus Klein saying, God bless Klaus, he said, I was just on the short strokes. He said, she complained about ear damage because I was holding onto her ears when the bomb went off. Oh dear. And we went back to and this is the time we arrived back after a meal.
Yeah.
And Stavros is saying to the copper, it's not me, whatever. And he got 2 passports. So the following morning he used his old passport and got off the island. And the following day we were in a hotel in Hong Kong. And Mike Trimby was saying he stood against this big ornamental fireplace, and Stavros stood there, and Mike, who was organising the trip. And Mike's in the shit because the police have said, if the perpetrator doesn't come back, we're not releasing the hire cars and the racing bikes, because all the hire cars were from Hong Kong. All the racing bikes, none's been released until this guy comes back. So Mike's saying to Stavros, you've got to go back. And Stavros said, it's more important that I get back to London than go back to Macau. So I don't know what quite happened there, but what a situation. And then another thing with Stavros, he's had me over so many times in jokes. He's a bastard. And the first time I went with the Kawasaki lot, I stayed in the Kawasaki shop. And there was a little Chinaman and a Portuguese guy, they were partners. And the Portuguese guy's proper job was he was in the police. Real hard bastard. And he got a gun down on his ankle. So I said to him, would you just do us a bit of a favour? He says, what's that? I said, well, we're going to put some white powder in a plastic bag and put it in Stavros' suitcase. Would you just go to his room and make an inquiry? Yeah, he were up for it. This is absolutely true. And if Stavros was sat here now. So we're all downstairs and Stavros is upstairs in his bedroom. And this Portuguese copper banged on the door. Stavros, yeah. He said, we've reason to believe that you've brought drugs with you. Stavros says, no, I haven't. He said, do you mind if I have a look? Oh, of course you can have a look. He went straight to the suitcase and put this plastic bag out with white powder in it. Fucking hell. Stavros shit himself. Absolutely brilliant. So the copper then, he handcuffs Steve to the end of the bed. He says, I've got to leave you here now and go and get some reinforcements. So Stavros is then ringing his mechanic, Dave Johnson.
Yeah.
Dave, bring a hacksaw, I'm in the shit. Oh dear. It was the only time I've actually had one over on Stavros, but it was
One of the few that has.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I tell you what I want to do is wrap this up because it's been absolutely brilliant. Mick, thank you again. It's been a true privilege to sit with you. Maybe one day we'll get Rog and Reg in as well. And I can already feel the comments coming on YouTube. Do it. Get all of them together. We will. We'll maybe get all the boys together in the new year. So you three just talk amongst yourselves and I just sit back and just listen. Every new guest we have on the show, the final question I always ask, what's your best hire car story?
Well, I think in South Africa in 73, where I got a namesake called Mike Grant. Well, both Michael Grant. But he came over and did some racing in Europe. And we thought it'd be good if they called him Mike and me Mick. That's where the Mick came from. And we're in a hire car in the forests and like junglish type stuff. And he'd been driving, he was good at it. And I started driving, sliding this car around, and I just completely wrecked it. And we took it, and because that time there were no credit cards or anything, so I paid a deposit. So we'd drive back to the hire place at the airport, and it'd come, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. We'd already hammered it out, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And the fools never came out and looked at the car, it completely wrecked. So I got my deposit back, and I couldn't wait to get on the airplane.
Get out of Dodge quickly.
Yeah. I've had a few of them.
There's always almost. Some of the modern lads haven't really got them because I don't know.
I mean, it's so childish, but I'd one or two of those. But
it's good fun.
I would get angry now if I did it, but at that time it was fun. You change, don't you?
You absolutely do. Yeah. But at the again, it was of its time. Absolutely. It was the right thing to do. I mean, so many stories of, again, South Africa. Roger was saying that they were shot at, him and Stavros. Stavros landing one on the beach at Daytona.
Yeah.
Jack Valentine's stories of going through Nevada and getting done for speeding and the things. And the link road at Cartagena and some of the stuff from Spain. It's just good fun. And do you know what? On audio, I've done 155 shows for off track. And not once has anybody ever been judged on a hire car.
Okay.
Not once. Okay. Because we're all of the right mentality. The great listeners and the viewers, they wait for this story at the end. It's like, what's a hire car story going to be? It's been one of our things that we brought from Motopod when we did that a few years ago. Mick, thank you.
My pleasure.
This has been absolutely brilliant. It's been so entertaining, such an enlightening time. And if we can, maybe in the new year, we'll get the boys together around the table, or even better in the pub with a little mahogany table, a couple of beer mats, a couple of full glasses, and do something like that, because I think that would be equally as entertaining to get you three together to the stories that will then come out and you jog each other's memories. And I think we'll do that in unit. Let us know in the comments if you want that to happen, and we'll feed that back to Rog, Reg, and to Mick. Don't forget, please like, subscribe, share it, tell your friends, tell your granny, because we love doing this. Mick's been fantastic. So we hope you've enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mick Grant.
Cheers.
Thanks, Mick.
Thank you very much.